Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about food tracking, and specifically I want to talk about why we at Gyroscope, we like to zoom out and focus mainly on protein, calories and fiber. Now you can set strict targets for carbs and fats as well, but I just want to explain why we don't think it's necessary for most people most of the time, and how you might just make your lives a little bit easier if you are food tracking if you don't do that. Let's start with an overview of the basics. Energy balance. Now, energy balance is actually a very complex process with loads of stuff going on under the hood that affects it. Hormones, certain medications, certain medical conditions. But for most people, most of the time, we don't need to get lost in the weeds with this stuff too much. And all of that stuff is factored into the equation anyway. So for fat loss purposes, energy balance comes down to calories in and calories out. Your body burns a certain number of calories a day, calories out, and you consume a certain number of calories a day. Food, drink, calories in. How many calories you burn a day is completely unique to you, and it's known as your total daily energy expenditure. If you're consistently consuming less calories than you burn, you're in a calorie deficit, and you will over time lose muscle and fat. But we can protect against the muscle loss with protein and training, and we'll talk about that in a little while. If you're consistently consuming more calories than you burn, then you're in a calorie surplus, and if you keep on doing that, you will gain fat and muscle. But again, we can make sure that more of that is muscle and less of that is fat by just making sure that your surplus isn't too high and you're also training enough and eating the right things. The largest amount of calorie burn comes from rest. This is known as your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, sometimes very closely correlated with your resting metabolic rate, RMR. So that's just simply existing. Things like breathing, thinking, cellular functions. Above that, then we've got something called NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is all of the unintentional movement that you do during the day. Fidgeting, maybe moving from one place to the other without really thinking about it too much. Above that, you've got your EAT, which is your exercise activity thermogenesis. This makes up a much smaller amount of calorie burn. Even if you train pretty hard, it's generally near the top of the pyramid. And then at the very top, we've got something called TEF, thermic effect of feeding, and that is how different macronutrients can have slightly different thermic effects on the body. So protein, for example, something like 20 to 30% of those calories are going to be lost as heat. When it comes to carbs, it's about 10 to 12%. When it comes to fats, about 3 to 5%. Now, like I said, these things do make a difference, but with a balanced diet, when you zoom out, the differences are fairly negligible. And as long as you're eating enough protein and enough fiber, and your calories are plus minus, you're going to be hitting your goals. So that's a very rough overview of energy balance and calories in general. And there is way more to it than that, but generally for fat loss purposes, we don't usually need to think much further than that. So held within the umbrella of calories, you have your macronutrients, protein, fats, and carbs. And within the macronutrient umbrella, you have your micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. So back to the macronutrients, the only one that we really focus heavily on with target tracking in Gyroscope is protein. It doesn't really matter if you've got high fat or low fat, high carb or low carb, as long as calories are equated, fat loss results are the same. That is to say, if two identical twins who did exactly the same things, all of the variables were somehow controlled, they both ate 2,000 calories a day, both ate the same amount of protein a day, but one of them ate high carb and low fat, one of them ate low carb and high fat, they would lose more or less the same amount of fat. So then why do we want to keep protein intake so consistent? We want to try and protect against muscle loss. We want to try and build muscle. We want to keep on nourishing our tendons, our ligaments, all of our connective tissues, and we don't store protein in the same way that we store fats and carbs, so we do need a plentiful and consistent supply of it. Now, fiber is not technically a nutrient as we know it, and it's generally found in carbohydrate-based foods like whole grains, fruits and veg, but it's also found in many fat-based foods like avocado, nuts and seeds too. We track this for two main reasons. One, all the research continues to point towards better health and longevity with increased and sustained fiber intake. And two, we find that if you're consistently eating enough fiber, you're probably also eating enough fruits and vegetables as well, which is all part of what we like to think of as the perfect balanced plate. So to summarize, we track calories so you can stay on top of your energy balance, which will be the main driver for weight loss, weight gain, or weight maintenance. We track protein as it's the macronutrient that you should try and eat enough of and as consistently as you can day to day. And we also track fiber, so you can make sure that you're eating enough fiber every day, and this probably helps you make sure that you're eating enough fruits and vegetables. Just to finish, by all means, track fats and carbs, whatever works for you, but we've just found that simple generally means sustainable. And to focus on calories, protein and fiber, while being a bit more flexible with fats and carbs, just generally makes life and dieting a little bit more flexible and fun. I hope this video helps, and if it does, please do hit the like button and share the video around with as many people as you can. It really, really helps us grow, and we really, really appreciate it. And just as a final plug, if you haven't downloaded the app already, if you're not on Gyroscope, hit the link below, check it out, try out Gyroscope Food X-Ray. I might be biased here, but it is the best food tracker on the market, and I think you would very, very much benefit from it. All right, until next time, take it easy.